Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Elite Coaching Blueprint podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking all things content with Lou Kelly, the exercise engineer, and we're going to be touching on some practical tips that you can put in place to actually grow and work on your social media and put out content very consistently. In preparation for today's episode, I've been listening to a lot of episodes on, content creation from many different creators, how to grow your social media, all these sort of things. And the advice that was given, although fantastic and very true, the general advice that was given over and over and over and over again was ultimately show up, be consistent, post value to your audience, and know who your audience are so that you can post something that's relevant to them. Now, although those things are extremely true and all of those things are very relevant to if you do want to grow your social media, get better engagement, see a higher following and see more people engaged in your content and what you do and potentially purchasing off the back of that, it's very general advice. It isn't advice that I feel is actually practical, that if someone's listening to this and struggling with creating content, they can actually put anything into action. So I'm hoping today, off the back of this, speaking to Lou, who I think is absolutely fantastic at what she does when it comes to the content side of things. We use her as an example inside the ECB all the time for a lot of the content, like classes we do and creating things. We use her content all the time for that sort of stuff. We're hoping that we can get some amazing bits of advice. Lou, at the time of checking, I think you're at about 21,500 followers, which I think for a lot of people is a great feat to achieve. And it's not like you have come from, Kim Kardashian kind of family where you've just got a load of followers off the back of someone else's doing. This is something you built up yourself, which I think is very impressive. And I think the content you put out is very, very engaging and also quite low maintenance to create. So I think that's a really good way for us to kind of dive into this and talk about this a little bit more. Lou, do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself, who you are, what you do, how you help people, and then we can take it from there?
Okay, hello, I'm Lou. So I used to be an engineer back in London, and during COVID, I managed to lose a stone of weight and over 3 months. And I was like, oh my God, that was actually much more simple than I thought. Instead of like beating around the bush and following all the fads, I didn't do any of that. I literally just stripped it all back. And then I was like, I can help other people do this. So I got my PT qualification while I was still working as a site engineer in London. And then it got to a certain point in the business that I couldn't expand without giving more time to it. So I'm currently now in Sydney on a 1-year sabbatical, trying to build my business to match salary with my engineer's salary, pretty much, or just absolutely give it my absolute everything. As you said about my following, when I came out here 7 months ago, I was on 2,000 followers. It is on the rise, people. It's now on 21 and a half. And yes, that is down to not only the quality of the reels that I'm putting out there, but the consistency of it as well. And I think it's the value within the reels. So I help women all over the world lose fat in a sustainable way, pretty much. And I just think there's so many more fun ways of doing it. So I film all my home workouts and they all just love them. They're 30 minutes, you can do them from your own home. And I think that's sort of where I approach my content from as well, because it's stuff that's easy. You need the easiest route to get you from A, where you're at now, to your goal, which is B. For my clients, that's usually fat loss and muscle growth. For my social media, that's how can I most easily for myself get that sort of good quality content out there that people want to watch my content. I think that's a crucial bit as well.
Well, I think from what you've said there as well is a huge part of that is, like you said, when you came out there 7 months ago, you're on what, 2,500. You're now up almost 20,000 followers off the back of that, which means people are watching your stuff, people are engaging with it, and they're seeing it as something that they're like, hey, I want to follow this and kind of follow along with that journey. Now, there's a lot of different things that I've seen from looking at your content, which I think is like, there's a reason, there's another reason, there's another reason. And I think maybe a couple of avenues we can go down today to explore this with a little bit more depth and to, actually give people practical things that they can put in place, from the back of listening this and go, today I'm going to make a better piece of content, or today I'm going to half the time that it takes me to make content. I think we can look at how we can do that practically, but also what other kind of like mechanisms behind it. So I think a really good one to kick things off with, and I've been seeing this a lot lately with social media. I've seen it with your content, with the tire flip stuff for the world record challenge that you were doing a little while ago. I've seen it with a marketing monkey, which was literally just a video of a monkey every single day. I've seen it with a boy yesterday who he's done, I think, 11 videos, and he's gone from 0 followers to 250,000 followers. And he does a clap for every follower that he gets. Yesterday's video is hilarious. It's literally just him clapping for like 4 hours. If anyone's following Tim Naki, the New Zealander, he does blackjack hands. He bets 10 cents for every Instagram follower he gets. That is absolutely unbelievable. But there's a piece of content and there's a strategy at work there that is, I think, one of the best ways to work with your content, especially in 2024, which I think a lot of people want more community. They want a little bit more like knowing who you are. They want to feel like they're part of something. And there's almost a way to create content which brings people into your world in something that they're interested in, but also they can feel part of that process because by following, they are inherently giving you something extra to do. It's engaging in the sense that you know that you've taken part in that, but you also want to see, oh, if I'm doing this, where's this going to go tomorrow? They've just jumped up 10,000 followers and he's got to clap 10,000 more times or whatever it is. And for you, that was the tire flip stuff. Do you want to kind of talk us through where that really came from? You know, what was that experience like? But also, you know, what was the process behind that sort of content creation there? Like, how did that go about for you? And what was maybe some of the results you saw off the back of it?
Yeah, so my tire flipping one is a bit more wild compared to clapping. But the way that I got the idea, I saw the person who was running an inch for
Oh,
every new follower. And I was like, an inch? I was like, surely you can do more than that. But it was racking up and up and up. So I was thinking, okay, I nearly did a pull-up for every follower. And I thought, that's going to ruin me. So you just don't know how it's going to spiral out of control. So down at the gym in Bondi, this tire just appeared one day. And I was just looking at it. I was like, I'm going to see if I can flip that. And I managed. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Do you know what? I could do that again. And I could do that again. And I thought, right, let's do it. And then I looked up the world record and it's 221 tire flips in an hour. And I was like, interesting.
That's not that high, is it?
It's not that many. But it's got to be there and back.
Okay.
And yeah. So I was like, okay, let's see how many people not jump on this, but I was like, if I just film this, people were like, what? Because I put it on my story first. So a lot of the time, which is a really good way of doing it, is test things on your story first. See how your direct people react to it. And I was flipping these tires in one of these videos, and all of like so many people were commenting on it, being like, what the hell, like swiping up, liking it, been like, what the hell are you doing? And then I was like, right, this is it. This is a good bit of content that's like a series almost of like, this is where I'm starting. Watch me build, watch me do this. And for every tire flip, for every new follower, I'll do a tire flip. And I say in the first video, which is still pinned at the top of my profile, help me train for my world record attempt. So automatically people are like, what's the world record? And like the comments are all like, oh, another tire flip. It's like, oh, go on. And like the more that people comment, obviously, because then they're following you and liking it and commenting and like, oh, look at this. And then people are sharing it because at the end of it, so calls to actions are, I never used to think they were important, but unless you post in the same one every single day, people aren't going to do it. But if every now and again you throw in a different call to action, like, guys, please share this. We need to get this going. And I said that to my followers already. And I think people love getting behind a cause. Like they really do. Give them something to follow, give them a reason, something to be invested in and like sort of take them on that journey. So my next one is Ironman training because I currently can't run. So I'm like, right, how else am I going to get my cardio in? swimming. So that's my next thing. So I'm like, right, okay, that is, but try sort of make the headline a bit bigger. So yeah, I could just write, oh, I'm going for a swim today, guys, instead of running. No, this is day one Ironman training. Like,
Yeah.
give them something to watch. And it's like day one Ironman training. It's like, oh my God. And if for people who don't know what Ironman training is, maybe reel it out. How far will I eventually have to swim? 3.8 kilometers. So I go from a beginner, complete beginner swimmer on day one. In 8 weeks' time, my plan is to be able to swim 3.8 kilometers front crawl without stopping.
So that's another one. That's like the deadline.
So yeah, it's going to be my next big like series, because people want to get behind it. They really do. They want to, like, some people will follow because they want to see you fail, but engagement's engagement at the end of the day. But then you do have to think as coaches, you don't want to go something too rogue because you still want the followers for the right reasons to help your business. So that's where it can be risky because people might end up following you for no reason, and then your engagement with your coaching side doesn't do as well. So always be careful and try and align it. So my clients, a few of them swim already, but a lot of my clients run on the back of me running every day. None of them tire flip. That was really rogue, but that was to do with a world record.
It's still fitness based, isn't it, as well?
But it's still fitness based. It's still putting yourself through difficult situations. And I wasn't doing a reel on the tire flipping every single day. I was doing like one update reel a week.
Yeah.
Just like this week, I gained this many followers. Watch me do 300 tire flips.
Yeah.
Or like, and then I always like to speak over as well, and explain something like, why am I doing it? Like, why is it hard? How can people relate? So I think one of my tire flipping reels was more to do with why I couldn't be bothered and why I kept putting it off, but why it was important to get it done now, because tomorrow I'm going to wake up with even more followers. So actually, it's easier to get it done quicker.
I remember seeing that one. I do remember seeing that.
I try and put a different spin on it so people still get value from it and they're not just watching.
Yeah, you're seeding in the ideas that are important to your clients and them getting results. And, you know, it's that whole, you know, if I do it now, I don't have to do it tomorrow, and delayed gratification stuff. Let's break down a few little things that you've said, because all of those were fantastic. So if someone's trying to implement this sort of thing themselves, like you said, with your Ironman one, great thing there as well. And I think I've seen this on a lot of other ones. It was the same with the marketing monkey one I saw. It was like, help me prove to my marketing professor that this monkey can get more engagement than his like stupid marketing course or something. And it was like 0 out of 500,000 or 1 million followers or whatever it was. So it almost puts a deadline on it. And like with your Ironman stuff, you're thinking, well, I've got to get to this kind of destination, or I have to get this far with the training. So it creates a bit of you want to be part of it. You don't want to put off being part of it because there's like how long is this going to run for? And it allows you to see sort of progression through the stuff you're doing. I think the testing it thing was really, really smart as well, because like you've said, the people who are following you on your stories, they're the most engaged people who follow you. So they are really interested in what you do. If they're engaging with your stuff, it's a good sign that you can step back and go, you know what, this might be worthwhile making a piece of content on. So that's a great thing to do, is like, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to formally put this out on content, maybe we can touch on that in a moment, because I think people do have a bit of a fear with these things as well. But, you know, test it out on something that's a little bit less, you know, quote unquote permanent with a story. The thing where you said like, help me to, you know, achieve this world record, or help me to do blah, blah, blah. It's like you said, it's a call to action almost. It's like, I need you to come with me on this journey and to help me do X, Y, Z. And you can do that by following this account. So you're telling people what you want them to do. And you'd said that before. And I was exactly the same, where I thought, call to actions aren't that important. But actually, even just seeding into your content halfway through, oh, by the way, if you're enjoying this, make sure to drop me a follow so you don't miss the next one. Or, oh, if you're, you know, what you want to use this in the future, make sure to save this so you can, you know, come back to this later, or whatever it is. That's the sort of stuff that, you know, people can just swipe by, or you just get that little thing. It might only be 1 or 2 extra people who follow you or engage with your stuff, but it's that snowball effect that starts to create over time, that suddenly it's just adding up and adding up. So I think that's a really, really big one there. And then also, like you said, there's a level of curiosity there as well. So how can you add curiosity in what you're doing? Like you're saying with what's the world record? People think, oh, well, what is the world record? Or what is an Ironman? Or what is this thing? How far will this person go? Like, what is there's a level to it where people are going, oh, what's that? And it creates a bit of interest in it. So I think some great bits of advice there from yourself is, test it out, make sure that you're seeding in that sort of curiosity and calls to action, as well as sort of calling people to action in terms of like, I want you to help me, like come with me on this journey, and create something that is a series almost. It's like, here's episode 1, episode 2 will be going further. So to use one of the other examples of Tim Naki, the guy who's betting 10 cents for every Instagram follower he's got over 1 million followers now. So today, I think his bet was 119,000 New Zealand dollars or something. Puts out blackjack, but at the end of every video, he's like, we'll see you tomorrow where we'll be betting even more. So you're like, oh my God, how many more followers is he going to get tomorrow? So he'll be betting more and more and more. And it's just this kind of snowball effect of that stuff there. So I think there's some really, really great advice. With regards to what you'd mentioned there about testing it out, I do think people have this scared element to themselves where they're like, oh man, what if people see this and I do fail? Or what if I get judged off the back of doing this? Or, what's your advice for someone who is thinking, oh, I've got a great idea. I'm going to do a pull up for every blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to go and, like walk an inch or take one step for every Instagram follower I get, or whatever it is, right? For those people who are scared to take that step of actually doing the piece of content, what's your advice with that?
Practice while no one's watching.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think, oh, my content creation isn't great yet, I don't want to start posting it to the world. While you've got a smaller following, post more. Just get as many out there as possible. Just think the more that you do, the more likely one of them will stick. And in terms of the judgment side of it, I understand this. Like I don't get many trolls at all. Like a lot of my following, I'm quite lucky, but a few, it depends on the ones that, like I did one on a bowl of jelly and cheese, and oh my God, the amount of negative comments towards that was mental. And I didn't care because they're not really, I mean, some of them were really mean towards me as a person. It was like, oh, she's useless, like doing. And I was like, that's fine. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand that that's a risk in posting to the world every day. There's going to be people out there that don't like what you're doing. There's going to be people out there that are miserable who have nothing better to do than to find and troll people. And it's understanding that it's them who need, like, it's sad. I feel sorry for them. So, and I just think engagement's engagement. Doesn't matter if it's a bad comment. Like I got quite a few messages on the back of that reel being like, oh, Lou, like, are you okay? I've just seen all the, like, that's got some really negative things. And I'm like, yeah,
like, yes. Can you go leave one as well, kind of thing? Yeah.
Get more comments on there. Like it doesn't bother me, but I understand that it would affect a lot of people. But I think that's just where you've got to step back from it. And it is, I do like to look at it as my baby, and it is like my profile, my baby, and I do like to sort of protect it almost.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand that there are some horrible people out there, and you might get some mean comments, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. And
it's more a reflection on them than it is on you at all. Because, if I think for everyone listening to this, I would hope we attract a crowd of people who would never go on people's accounts and comment something that is like negative in any way. However, with that said, think about the kind of mental state you have to be in as well. For anyone who's like thinking, oh, what if people judge me? What if this and that? For someone to kind of be either judging you or leaving a negative comment on anything you do, like think how bad your day's got to be going for you to go on someone's account and be like, oh, you're an idiot, or like whatever, or call someone out for how they look or how they sound or anything at all. It is quite ridiculous. Like it's childish, and it's not the sort of thing that I would hope anyone who's listened to this would actually partake in. But when you look at it from that point of view, very much like you said, it's like it's sad, and it's like one of those things where if you look at it from that point of view, and you found one of these people in person and you were like, oh, that's someone who left a comment on my thing and they were rude or whatever. And then that person came over and tried to give you advice on something or told you, like, a way to live your life. You'd probably be thinking, I'm not going to listen to him. Like, why would I value anything that you've got to say? But you'll value what they comment onto your social media. So it's one of those things where it's definitely I can see the reason why people are hesitant to it. I was very hesitant. The first post I put out, there is a bit of exposure therapy with it as well. Like a lot of the clients who we work with who struggle with that, the biggest thing I say to you is just post on your stories every day, because that runs out in 24 hours. Just get used to just posting on there and not caring too much about what's going on. But also, like you said, when you've got less of a following, there's less people to judge you. And it's a nice balance of things. Like, if you've got 500 followers, well, only a certain percentage of your followers see all your content as it is anyway. So you're only putting this in front of so many people. The other way I like to look at this, and try and explain to people when they say, oh, I want to put content out, but I struggle with that side of things. My best piece of advice with that is the way that the algorithm works, and it is changing slightly a little bit at the minute, but in general, your content gets shown to a select amount of people. And if those people go, yes, this is good, in other words, they watch it, they engage with it, they enjoy the piece of content, Instagram will go, oh, amazing, let's show this to a larger percentage of people. So then those people get to see it. And if those people, again, engage to a good amount and watch it all the way through, they go, oh, amazing, they show it to more people. So by definition, if your content gets seen by a lot of people, it's good content because it has had a level of engagement to get there. But if it doesn't get seen by a lot of people, it wasn't good content, which is okay. We're all, we all learn, we're all still going through that journey. There's constant changes in social media and what's working, what isn't. So we constantly all have to learn. It's not like anyone's an expert and isn't. It's just, you have to go through that process. But by definition, if I put a piece of content out and it's dog shit, then it won't get shown to more people. And the people it did get shown to didn't engage with it or watch it, because that's what stopped it from going to more people. So by definition, if it was bad content, no one sees it unless they thought it was good. And if they thought it was good, then what's the problem? So there's no real issue there when you put that out. It's just that kind of like fear factor, I think, of just hitting the share button and be like, oh my God. And it's happened. I still get that as well.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this one. But again, I know it's more of a mindset thing, but if you get into just the habit of doing it every day, that's sort of where you can tackle, like, you build the mental resilience.
Yeah.
So you like, I can do this. I did it yesterday. I can do it again today. I did it. I did that. And it's like, can you just increase it that little bit more? So maybe you'll just put a little 5-second video up.
Yeah.
And then the next day, right, okay, I did 5 seconds that day. Let's see if I can do a 10-second video today. And then they'll grow and grow and grow until you've got this 60-minute video. You're talking to the camera, maybe you're doing a voiceover and it's a full story reel of part of a series, and you're like, oh my God, wow, that took 2 weeks, and you only built it up by 5 seconds a day. But look at this amazing piece of content I've just created.
I think that's a big one. Bit by bit. Massive.
Yeah.
It's
try 5-second reel. It doesn't matter. With writing over it, you don't have to speak in the first one. Just prove to yourself that one.
Yeah. It's trending sound, B-roll of yourself, like just can literally be doing literally anything, and you put text over the top, so you can't even see yourself. Something like that's a great way into it. I think that's a huge part of that process as well, is, just testing things out. Like you said there, sometimes you go, oh, I don't know if that'll work. The reel I put out this morning was a bit of a different style that I put out before. And I even posting that, I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to go well, but I just share it. Another thing that I've kind of learned to do over the years, click share, turn the app off, like go on and do something else. Like if you're sat there like painstaking and go like, oh, only 2 people have seen it and liked it, you're going to feel shit because you're like, oh, what? It's not gone viral yet. It's not gone viral yet. That's fine. It doesn't have to go viral. Like a lot of the content you're making,
some of mine have gone viral a month later.
Oh, interesting.
Weird. Yeah, really interesting. So like it did well, but then it sort of like died off a bit, and then something must have like, it just went boom. Like it was wild. And quite a few of mine have done that now. So like I've posted a reel, maybe engaged with the first few comments or something, and then I've gone to sleep and I've woken up and it's gone boom. Like it looks like it's not doing well. So I'm just like, oh, whatever, go to sleep. And then overnight or like the other day I filmed a workout, I posted a reel, saw flopped and I thought, oh crap. Oh well, film a workout. After the workout, I came back to hit 20K. I was like, bearing in mind my workouts are half an hour, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's insane.
Considering
What do you think's going on there? So have you actually let's kind of just take a step back before I ask that question. Have you ever been in a position, because this is the other thing that people were painstakingly in, they're just like, I'm doing all the advice. Like they're listening to this, they're like, I'm giving value, I'm doing calls to action, I'm making short content, I'm making longer content, I'm making hyper edited content, I'm doing stuff that's less edited because Hormozy's going down that route, and 2024 is now saying that people want less like hyper edited stuff. There's people saying I'm doing all the advice that everyone's given me. Have you been in that position where you're like, I'm doing everything that I should be doing, and it's just not, you're just getting like a few hundred or a couple of thousand on a reel, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep, 100%. So when I started, I started back in like 2020. And yeah, so over the first 3 years, I only grew from 0 to 2,000.
Yeah.
It's only recently that it sort of skyrocketed. So I posted every single day still for 3 years. So that's why I think my content is engaging, because I look back at some of my old stuff and it's pretty shit, but I got the reps in. It's exactly the same as what we're telling our clients to do with habits, getting up, going to your workout, getting your reps in, building the muscle. And it is exactly the same with content.
It's a good analogy. It's a good analogy because it's like if a client was shy to get in the gym or concerned about what people are going to think about them, the best way for them to get over that is going into the gym and just doing something. You could even just go, let's just go in the gym and just get on the treadmill. You can we'll show you how to turn it on. You go on there for 20 minutes, in and out. That's all you need to do today, kind of thing. And it's just that slowly, like kind of increasing exposure that kind of gets people across the line there. So what do you feel has changed from those days where you were posting stuff and you're like, oh man, it's just not ticking over. It's just not getting the engagement I want, to now where you are posting stuff and it has kind of just gone, oh, I've walked away for half an hour and that's hit 20K views. Like what's been the main differences with the content you made then versus the content you made now, outside of just, having been consistent and showing up? Because I think those are the things that people like, I am being consistent, I am showing up, I am posting value. What's changed within the content itself that you're making?
The actual content itself has changed quite drastically as well. So obviously I've gone from being a full-time site engineer and doing this as like a side hustle to this being my full-time job. So I understand that, yes, I've got more time now, but I think a lot of people are in my position where this is their full-time job as well. And like social media is a full-time job. You need to sort of treat it like that. So to manage the people on there as well. But the difference with my content, like I film everything that I do, absolutely everything. And I think whether you choose to share that list down the line or not, but having filmed everything, it gives me so much more content to use. So it's always different. So it's whether it might still be me just running, but it's different because I'm in a different outfit and I'm doing a different route and I look different. So it's very different. And I like to choose my real, like the actual content of what I'm talking about that day from something that actually happened to me. So people are invested in me, in following me. So it's like, oh, what struggles did I have today? And then I talk about those, or like how I overcame it, or why I haven't overcome it, and what I'm going to do about it. Or like, yeah, when I go for a run, I take you on that journey with me. Did I get a 10K PB? No, probably not, because you don't get one of those every week. But why didn't I? Why am I running slower than usual? Give people value, but almost like this podcast, like give people actionable value, something that they can take away from that and be like, I'm going to implement that right now, and literally tell them to implement it right now.
Yeah.
It's like, this is something you could do. Get up and go for a
Right
run.
this second. Yeah.
Right now, go do it. Go for a run. And instead of running for 10K, run for an hour and watch how much more you enjoy it because you slow down. And it's like, ooh, it sort of leaves people intrigued. And I think with the difference between my content now and what it was, and because there's a bit more planning involved. I used to just come up with any old crap, but now I like to at least plan it. So you should have like your content plan of like the main headers that you want to hit. So like nutrition, running, strength, recovery, and then maybe like a life one as well, or like 2 of each or whatever. So have your category toppings, and then you've got your style. So there's loads of different ways that you can create content to match each of these content pillars. So you've got your point of view reels, you've got your trending audios, you've got the face to camera where you're actually physically speaking to people, you've got the voiceovers, you've got some like direct coaching points, you've got a client review, maybe like you do one of the green screen ones and like show, right, this was my client here, this is how we got to here. The carousel posts. There are so many different styles. If you put your list of styles down one side of the page, all your content topics, your content pillars of the main things that you want to hit as a business down this side, and then you can draw the lines between them. You should be able to hit so many different contents between all of those, because then under each of your content pillars, you've got all your different questions that people are asking. So under nutrition, you've got struggling to hit protein, how many calories, what's the deficit, what's the calorie surplus. You've got all those to hit at the same time, and you can hit each of those questions with each of these styles. So really, when people come to me and think, how do you come up with ideas? You've got so many ideas right in front.
One idea, and you're doing it 10 times in different styles, and that's how you get like a lot of content. I think you've really well summarized. This is basically the same approach we use inside the ECB. Is we'll basically tell our coaches to come up with 4 series. So the series are what you've called pillars there, and the series are basically the 3 core areas. So if anyone's listening to this and thinking like, how can I actually implement that right now for myself? Of course, you want to have a niche that you work with, because if you know your niche, know your audience. And this is where, if you go back to kind of what I was saying before about, in fact, let's backtrack before this piece of advice. One of the things you said there was, what's the actionable advice people can use? The whole reason of this podcast, and you'll hear this in almost every episode I go through, is I say, I want to give you tips that you can do today. Like you can literally do this off the back of listening to this. You can put this into action. No like tricks, no like me trying to pull you into like give me blah 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 whatever. Literally listen to this and you can do it. And I think that's where a lot of the kind of noise comes from. Is when I was doing the research for this, is I was just like, the advice is true, but it's not tangible for people. It doesn't translate. So when you're making this content, think about like, how can you translate it into something that actually people can go, oh, I'm going to do this. So the one you gave an example of was running for time. And that was actually a reel of yours that I watched. I've recently only just started running, not like literally 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. And it was one of those ones where the other day I was like, I'm not feeling like doing like a 5K or whatever in the morning. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to set the timer, half an hour. I'll just run, stop, and see how far I got. And actually, I'd gone further than 5K. And I was like, oh, okay, the shit. I was like, okay, that's fine. So it's one of those things where that happens. Now, where it comes to like, how do you action that yourself? What you said with the pillars, perfect. And like I was saying there, is we get a lot of our coaches to work with 3 series. So the series pillars, whatever you want to call them. And if you know your audience, you know your niche, what you can look at is you go, what are the 3 things that they are most interested in achieving, or the problems that they want to solve? They're 2 sides of the same coin. And like you said, it could be nutrition, it could be running, it could be recovery. If you work with powerlifters, it could be literally like squat, bench, deadlift tips. It could be, it could be the recovery between sessions. It could be a bunch of different stuff. And then the 4th one I generally like to suggest, but I liked the way you went through that as well, was like an authority one. So how can you give like authority that you've been there or you've done it with other people? So that could be client results, or, you know, how you did it yourself. If you're a bodybuilding coach, you know, here's the things that I'm doing on my run up to stage prep. Or if you're a marathon runner, here's the lessons that I learned in my 90-second marathon that I will never make again, or something like that. So it gives you authority on the situation. But like you've said there, is then you've got so many different styles of what you got. And you can almost take that even a step further, is you can go, right, if I come up with one idea, you know, here's how I make sure that I'm recovered between runs. Let's say that's one of them, right? Well, that could be a video that you film while you start running, and then the recovery process you do afterwards. So like you're saying, you're filming everything, you're filming the recovery process. It could be ice baths, it could be you cooking your dinner, it could be, you know, your sleep schedule. It could be, that could be an email that you send out, that could be a carousel of photos that you put out, it could be a voiceover of B-roll, it could be, you know, a filming to the face, talking to the camera. Like there's so many different variations of that one idea. You've got 10 different, 15 different styles of like content you can put out on social media. But then, like I said there, I actually brought that in too early. You can then take that even a step further. That could be an email that you write. That could be a podcast you make a video on. That could be a longer form piece of content that you set the camera down and you start talking on YouTube about. It could be something that you do a weekly call with your clients on. And suddenly this one idea is 30 pieces of content. And you go, oh, actually, I've got a lot of stuff about this that I can come up with. So I think that's a big thing. But I also think the other thing that people make mistake of is they need to come up with the new thing all the time. And actually, it's not that. A lot of people's content is just recycling the same stuff. A lot of stuff isn't educating your audience on new things. They're not on social media to be educated for the most part. You need to be kind of reminding people of the things they already know, and kind of just bringing it up and be like, look, hey, you know that you should be doing this. Here's how you can practically put it into action. Maybe you didn't know this little trick, this little piece of advice. So I think that's a really, really powerful kind of way to approach it. You said there that you were filming like pretty much everything you do. This was one of the topics and questions I wanted to ask you about. I feel like that is possibly one of, at the moment, outside of like the carousel reels as well, which you've done a lot of, where you're, I think basically you're just making them on your stories, saving them, and then posting them as carousels. That and the sort of like, you know, come with me, follow me kind of voiceover style reels. Do you want to talk us through those? Because I think for people who are like, I don't have time to make content, I'm struggling to make good, engaging content, I would say actually from looking at a lot of your stuff, those are some of the higher performing pieces of content. And I would also argue from doing them myself, they're some of the quickest and easiest pieces of content to make. Like, do you want to talk us through your process there a little bit?
100%. Yeah. So I don't film it with the intention of knowing what exactly I'm going to talk about, but I know that I'm going to definitely do a reel on me. I keep using the examples of running, because that's just easy to film en route. Maybe a bit of me struggling, maybe one of me smiling at the same time. So they're really quick and easy clips that you can film while you're doing the stuff that you do every day anyway. Like, I'm not going out for that run to make content. I'm going for that run anyway. So do the stuff that you do every day and then just film it all. And I think a lot of people don't like sharing everything, and that's fine. I'm not telling you that you need to share your entire life, but having little short bursts of clips of your whole life makes it so easy to put it into a full day worth. You could even do like, come with me on a day, blah, blah, blah. And it's tiny little bursts. It doesn't have, like, when I make my content now, it's about 0.6 seconds before it's quick. So that's why the more different reels, the more different points of view, the different angles of you running that you can get, the better. So even when I put my trainers on, put the camera up in the corner, it takes an extra 5 seconds to, and then yes, it does take a while to then crop it down, but then just chunk it out. So just like, all right, there's a second there, second there, second there, second there. Then when it comes all down, I do it in CapCut, by the way.
Okay.
Which I find so much easier than just editing it straight in Instagram. So then I upload, crop it even less, and then I just talk about something for however long the video is that I've made.
Yeah.
And you can literally be like, right, this is a running reel. let's go to my running pillar. What questions have people been asking recently? Bang, bang, bang. Oh, about that one. Talk about that for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Why people should give them an actionable task at the end.
Yeah.
Call to action.
The other one as well
And
is client things as well.
It is so quick because you've already got the content from what you're doing in your everyday life.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid bit of advice, because again, you know, the other day we were flying and I was like, oh, I need a piece of content. I need to make something now. I've completely forgotten. And I was on the plane. I didn't need a Wi-Fi connection or anything. I had it ready to post when I'd landed. I ended up posting something else instead, but I've now got that in the bank ready to go. Took me 15 minutes, but I just went onto like CapCut, just got like a few things open, or Instagram, whatever I was editing it on, put it together. It was ready. And then I was like, oh, it's a piece of content. And it was all footage. I wasn't filming stuff on the plane. All footage I had already on my phone. And I just made like a carousel post out of that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's pretty easy. It's one of the easiest ways to go about it. I think that also, you were saying there about
like carousel post. Sorry, this.
Yeah, go for it.
Carousel post. Like, I sometimes elaborate them a bit more with like nice lines, make it like aesthetically pleasing to look at. But I know a lot of people who literally just use the basic black and white text, and you've probably seen it. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. Black and white text, where you literally you go to upload it to your story and you click like caption over it or something.
Yeah.
You got the plain text and then just save it. And it is that easy. You could probably do that in 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, that's exactly what I think I was doing the other day. And it is a case of like, oh, I've got a photo. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk about nutrition. Oh, well, I've got that photo of me eating that pizza the other day. I've got that photo of when we went out for that dinner last year. Like, that's all you need, is just relevant images to the thing you're talking about on the screen, which all of us have nowadays. But also, like you were saying, it's almost getting in that habit of just like, oh, I'm doing something here that I can use in content. I'm just going to prop my phone down, because once you got 30 variations of that, like no one's going to really notice that an old one was used anyway. Like if you've got to go back and use something you had before, no one's going to be like, oh, I saw that in a post 6 months ago for 0.6 seconds. Like, she's reusing it again. No one's doing that. But again, it's the analogy used before with coaches and sort of like teaching your clients about, you know, the small steps and all that. It's the exact same here. Again, coaches will give the advice to clients like, come on, you should be tracking your nutrition. Like, you know what you're meant to be doing. It's a couple of minutes out of every day. It's split up over the day. It's the same with this. Like, it's a 60 seconds where you tie your shoes. You just pop your phone up for that. And now you've got footage of you tying your shoes. Like, it's a 3-second task to just open your phone and click record while you're doing it. So it adds to that kind of like, you know, ability to create that stuff. The last thing I wanted to ask you about on this sort of content stuff, and I think this is one of the most important things going into 2024, especially, where people are seemingly wanting to see more community. They're wanting to see a little bit more connection with people. And like you were saying, you've kind of attested to that being a huge element in your growth over the last 7 months, is the ability for people to connect with you, what you do, and sort of sharing your journey along the way. But I think people's struggles with that is, you know, a lot of coaches, they say, well, I live a really boring life. I go to the gym, I eat my food, I cook my dinner, I go to Tesco. That's it. Their life is on a kind of pretty sort of repeatable spiral, which I think is actually most people's lives are like that, right? What's your kind of advice to someone who's sitting there and going, I want to share more about myself, but I don't really do that much that's interesting to anyone else? Like, how can they insert that into their content and what they do in a way which is, you know, authentic, and they're not faking it, they're not sort of pushing their, you know, they're not faking things, essentially, they're not like lying to their audience?
That's a really good question. I think people are just nosy, and if you do the same thing every single day, it doesn't matter, because I think that's more important, because I think some people follow thinking, oh my God, these people are so interesting. I do the same thing every day as well. Like, I wake up, usually go for a run, I film a workout, I work in a cafe, do all my client check-ins. It differs because then, like, one day I might record a podcast, whereas the other day I might do X, Y, Z, whatever. But I think people like knowing who you are, and if who you are is someone who is habit worthy, or like just stuck in, not really stuck in a rut, but like going through the same stuff. It's exactly the same as what you tell your clients to do. And I think people need to hear that. So use that as like, I do the same thing every single day. Here's 3 reasons why. Or here's 3 reasons why it's helping me maintain fat loss. Or here's 3 reasons, like, why do you do the same things every day? It's not because you're boring. Like, there'll be so many other aspects. Then you put your personality behind what you're explaining, or like what the actual content is. So it doesn't matter that what you do every single day is the same. Just choose a different bit of the day to record. So
That's
I
good
don't
advice.
post every
Yeah.
I don't post every day about my run.
Yeah.
But I might one reel might be me walking around a shop doing my weekly shop. People like to see what goes in your basket. Like trust me, especially if you're a fitness coach. I once put on my story a picture of my shopping bag, and this is another really good tip that you can use. I put a picture on my story with a shopping bag with a poll next to it saying, do you want to see what's in my shopping bag? Like, the amount of people that said yes, and it's like, shall I make a reel on what I eat, like what I buy for the week? Honestly, the amount of people that were like, oh my God, yeah, show me. People constantly like, oh, so what do you eat every day? And I'm like, I eat the same shit every day. Like, it's so
yeah, it's the same meal I've eaten every single day for the last 5 years, kind of thing. But I suppose you're right. That's a really good bit of advice. Is I think we look at our days and go, well, I do the same thing. I go to the same gym. I go to this and that. But actually, when we break it down, we can share different parts of our day in different ways. We all have unique little things that we go, oh, that's a bit different, right? But we just kind of brush it off. Well, share that little thing, like share that little insight into your life, because my day is quite boring. But when I'm sat here working, like I sit here and, I've got these 4 walls around me and I sit here. But, today, for example, the cat was outside, or it was yesterday, I can't remember, today or yesterday, the cat was outside and we've got it a little playpen because it's a house cat and it's not allowed outside on its own, apparently. So we've had to put it in playpen. Now, to me, that's really normal because we've had it for 3 weeks. But actually, I saw it and I was like, oh, actually, that's just, it's something relatively interesting. It's not like no one's going to be like, fucking hell, wow. But it's a little insight into your life, and that's what builds connection. Is that it's I call it like almost the Big Brother effect. Like, why was Big Brother so big? Like, why did people literally sit and like it streamed when people were asleep? I remember when I was younger, you could literally just tune in and people were like snoozing, and that was it. It was just hours of that. But it's one of those things where people want to see, they are nosy. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to see if they can get that little like piece of advice or something, or if it is sharing your shopping, trolley, what's going in, what's the secret ingredient that's getting the result here, like what's happening. So I think it's like sharing the unique things about you.
My carb loading reel did so well. It was literally like 48 hours of carb, or like I put a big so again, so the beginning of the reel is me standing there with my abs out, and it's like, thirst trap, that's fine, whatever. And then I turn to the side and push my tummy out, and it's like, with the title, what I've eaten, 48 hours of carb loading, a half marathon race tomorrow, or something like that. And it's like, oh wow, the amount of people that saved that is mind blowing and shared it. So I reckon those 2 things are so crucial. So you need to be thinking, is it valuable enough that people want to save that for later? So it was like, I know that I'm not a professional runner, but other people wanting to understand what's a carb load before a race is a big deal. And I'm not a performance nutritionist. I'm not, like, that was just me eating what I thought my body needed before that race. But the amount of people that saved it was ridiculous. And also sharing it. I always think, what bit of content would I feel proud to share? Like, what content are you sharing into your group chat to be like, look what reel I found, guys?
Yeah. Like, that's a big one. Yeah.
That's a big one. So what are people saving? Like, before you post it, just think, is this content savable? Is there something either in the video or in the caption that people will want to come back to? Or is it shareable, and are they going to get a kick off being able to send that to their mates?
Yeah. So I
Those
think you've touched on something there,
almost like
which is
really relatable. Make it as
yeah.
relatable as possible.
That's the thing though as well, because like you said there, you shared this carb loading thing, and you said you're not a performance nutritionist, you're not also not like a professional runner. But I actually think, you know, for example, like my background's, I've got a master's in sports nutrition. If I made that piece of content, I think it would be a bit almost like too nerdy on certain details. And be like, oh, you need this, and oh, what you need 5 grams of this per kilo. It would be almost unrelatable for a lot of people. And the fact that you're not a professional runner or a performance nutritionist, you're approaching it from like a layman kind of approach where it's like, I just go and run. I've got this thing tomorrow. You might have one too. Here's how I'm approaching it. So someone else can go, oh, this is good. Like if someone else was looking at something out, someone else's, and it was really high level, it's probably like you need 6 grams of this per kilo of this, and blah, the magnesium, blah blah blah. It just isn't that relatable, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's not. It's almost like you're being educated. You're not kind of like
Yeah.
learning, like, oh, I didn't know that. Like stumbling across the information is one.
Yeah.
That's one big part of it.
So I'd written, yes, you need 10 grams of carbs per kg of body weight in there. But then I'd
Yeah,
written, so I'm 65 kg. I've eaten 650 grams over the past 48 hours. This is how I did it. And I literally listed every single item that I
yeah,
ate with the number of carbs next to it. So I was like, banana, 25 grams, jelly, or like what, like bang, bang, bang.
yeah.
And I think that was the bit that people might have seen. Because then actually, sorry, I keep thinking of
Go
different
for
things
it.
that I've
Go
written.
for it.
I'd written day one, and then underneath in really small text, so you couldn't really notice it, but you saw it appear, so your eyes do go up to it. It says full list of like everything I ate in the caption. So
That's a good
from
trick.
like
Yeah,
3-4 seconds in, people might be starting to think like, because it was snappy, it was like 0.4 seconds per item
yeah.
of food, but it's all listed in the caption as well. So because people are going to be like, oh my God, trying to memorize what I'm eating, but they can screenshot it, they can save it
It
in the
takes a few
caption below.
views as well to see the whole thing. So you might start reading it and then it like restarts
Yeah.
again. So you got to do it again, or you hold the screen down, or you go in the caption, it's playing in the background. All of that sort of stuff works. It's all those little like engagement hacks and stuff, which work in your favor.
103K views that one's currently sitting at.
That's insane. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the big things that kind of work into it. And again, you're not doing anything overly special. You haven't got this kind of
No.
technique that's just like, oh, only I know this. You're using really simple things, the little techniques and hacks. And we all see this. Like I think a lot of the coaches who come in, they're like, oh, I don't know what to post. Go and look at the content. Like you said, like what you're sharing, what you're saving, but look at what you're watching as well. When you scroll, what is the stuff that you stop and watch the whole video for? And what do you do? How do you interact with it? Are you going into the comments? Are you liking it? Are you sharing it? Are you saving it? Why? Like really analyze, be a bit more purposeful with what you're doing. The one you shared before as well, what you said about like, is it shareable, savable? The analogy I like to use for this is if you imagine that everything that you shared on social media with a friend was a +1, a neutral, or a -1 in like friend points, it's a good way to look at what the content you're sharing is, because I think people look at value and they go, oh, value, value, value. We've been taught, like people say, you need to share value, you need to share value. And we always take that as, oh, I have to give a list of advice or 5 tips to do X, Y, Z. But that's not what value is in a whole, its whole essence. Like value is something that is improving someone's life in some way, shape, or form. And that could be that you share with them a reel from a comedian, right? Oh, I've got a thumbs up there. You share with them a reel from a comedian. I triggered this one off the other day as well. If anyone's watching this, hang on, is it this one? I don't know. There we go. Confetti. No, I can't turn it off either. I keep triggering them off. Um, yeah, you could share it like a reel of a comedian with one of your friends. Does that improve their life in any way in the sense of like, oh, they learned like something? No, but they've had a laugh out of it. And that is inherently valuable to someone. It makes them feel good. And that is value. So when we look at value, it's a broader thing than just, oh, 5 tips on how to get your protein in, or, you know, here's how I approach XYZ. Value
Yeah.
is something that makes a positive impact onto people. So when you take a step out of that to see if something is like a shareable piece of content, consider it in the kind of like +1 friendship point, -1 friendship point, or neutral. If you shared something with someone, would they, if they had to vote afterwards after watching it, was that useful or not? If they put a +1, then that's something that's valuable to them. If it was neutral, then it doesn't really matter. If it was negative, if you sent them a load of like car crash videos and they really didn't enjoy it, they'd be like, okay, no. That kind of tells you what value is. So everyone's definition of value is very, very different. Some people have, really silly humor. Some people have really dark humor. If I send the dark humor video to someone who's got silly humor, they might be like, oh, I didn't like that. But if you send it to the dark humor person, they'll be like, oh, that was brilliant. Now send me more of those, and they'll give you the +1. So when we consider like shareable, saveable stuff, consider the factors there that go into it as well as like, is this in some way, shape, or form useful or beneficial to someone? It can be outside of like the tips and the tricks you give them. It can be the enjoyability. It can be the good feeling they get off of it. It could be, something funny. There's a load of different ways to approach that as well. So that's a really good piece of advice you've given there. Let's round this up with like your kind of main piece of advice. Let's try and steer away from the generic like show up, keep posting, like, because it's useless to most people, right? If you had to give someone a piece of advice today, they're stuck, they're not getting many views, they're not getting much engagement, and they're just in that position where they're just frustrated with their social media, what would you tell them to do today to change that and start moving them in the right direction where they can gain, more followers, more views, and more engagement?
I think I like to show my clients so just think about what you're telling your clients to do, and then think, right, okay, I'm going to actually show them how this is done. Content ideas. Like, I get up, I go for a run. I'm showing them that that's the life that I lead and that's what I promote. And I think having that sort of mindset instead, it's like, think of it as you're doing it for them. What do they need me to post today? And then I think that's a better way of, instead of like, oh my God, I need to do this for the business, blah, 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 blah. Just think, what do my clients need to see from me today in order for them to get results? And sometimes it might be to do with protein, might be to do with snacking in the house, or like a tip that you use. I show. That's why I film everything, and then I decide later what I'm going to actually post the reel on. I just think film everything, come up with your content pillars, do all that, but also just this is going to sound really cheesy, but I make my content from my heart. Like, I really do. And I pour a lot of energy into them because I'm proud of my content. I love it. I've made it into something that I enjoy instead of something that needs to be done, because I like to show people bits of my life, and you don't have to show people everything, but I do think it's more inspiring for people to see you doing the stuff that you're telling them to do, because it's like, oh, well, she's taking her own advice. It must be like she does it every day. It must be real. Like, it's just showing that you're trying to become 1% better every day as well is the snowball effect that you want, because then people don't call bullshit, pretty much.
You're practicing what you preach. You're showing up in a way which is achievable. I think you mentioned it earlier, is like you're solving the problems of your niche and your clients as you go along. So if something doesn't go right, you're not going, oh, I'm going to be perfect here and I'm going to pretend I did this and that. You're going, fucked up today. This is how I fixed it. And then suddenly people go, oh, that's real. That's something that's like, I can do that as well myself. And I think that does make a big difference over time as well. Cool.
Like, I showing the behind the scenes, like, I don't hide much at all. I'm very open.
Yeah.
I've cried on my stories before, like, but it's obviously whatever you're comfortable with. But I want your audience to feel like they're your best friend, because they will start to feel like that. You'll notice the ones that are always watching, always liking and commenting, and they're your biggest cheerleaders. So give them the content that they want. Ask them on their stories, what do you want to see more of me? What do you struggle with the most? Do like a little poll. Be like, guys, I'd really appreciate it. Thinking of mixing my content up. can you just answer a few of these questions, please? And then just put like 5 or 6 different poll questions and sort of gauge what they want. But yeah, I think showing them and being there for them is a good way of getting yourself to do it.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like,
that's a good piece of advice there as well.
if you knew that for every reel you posted, you would get 1 new client, you would post every day.
Yeah,
Like
100%. Yeah.
normally, because you don't know which reel's gonna pop. You don't know. Barbara round the road, she might see a certain reel and really resonate with it and be like, "Oh my god, this is the client for me."
Yeah.
And I've had on most of my messages, like when my clients sign up, I say, what made you sign up with me? Just like a little sentence or something. And most of the time is, I love watching your content, is always there. And you seem like no bullshit approach. Show us how it's done. You're inspiring. Show people the life that they want, and then show them how to achieve it.
Yeah, you're being like an idol, I guess, for them to kind of like, oh, I want to be more like that. I think that's important as well with the whole sort of social media thing, and it's you have to be in a position that your clients or potential clients also want to kind of get to. Like if you're trying to sell something that you've not even done yourself, I think that makes it very hard for people to be like, like they kind of can see through the bullshit a little bit as well. Well, some fantastic advice in there, I think, for absolutely brilliant. For anyone who's looking to kind of improve that stuff, definitely go and check out Lou's stuff as well. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just Exercise Engineer, isn't it? The Exercise Engineer on Instagram. Definitely go and watch some of. Hey,
there's 3 double E's in it.
oh, 3 double E's. Okay. Okay, the Exercise Engineer. You'll find it, but go and watch some of Lou's stuff because it is absolutely brilliant. And I would say if you're just like listen to this and you're like, right, I'm spurred up. I want to make a piece of content. I kind of want to see a good piece of like a good example or something. Like I say, I literally use loads of Lou's content as like examples of like this is how you should make something like this to clients and stuff because it's so well done. I would highly recommend just going and give that a look through, and you'll probably start getting a bit of inspiration yourself. So I think that's really, really good advice. And thank you very much for Lou giving some advice on that. For anyone else who is listening, me and Lou are going to talk very briefly as well. I think we'll maybe break this in. I don't know if we're going to split this up. We're going to do a 2-parter. So if you listen to this, it carries on or whatever. But we're just going to touch on very quickly as well a few little bits around kind of client adherence and stuff as well. So a little bonus part to this podcast, whether it is all in one or it's its own separate little mini podcast off the back of this. Oh, well, thank you very much, Lou, for jumping on. Like I say, for anyone who's listened to this, I don't know if I have split it on up or not. I will decide this in the morning. This will either be a 2-parter, it will be one long podcast. If it is a 2-parter, go back and listen to the first half if you haven't, which we've covered everything on content and creating it and growing your social media in a way that's actually practical that you can actually put into effect from today. For anyone who's been listening to us for what has been a slightly longer than planned podcast, 2 hours almost. Really appreciate you showing up. Make sure that you go follow Lou on social media, on Instagram, The Exercise Engineer. 3 double D's in there, she's saying as well, which is a bit of a difficult one to kind of spell out all in one word, but you'll get it. I'm sure we've all been to school. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. Is there anything else you want to share? Anything that you want to kind of put out there, or you're good?
No, just go and smash it.
Beautiful.
Just
great.
Yourself proud.
Go for it.
Love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much
for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right. And for anyone else who's got any questions for either of us, just drop us a message on Instagram with whatever that is, and we'll be happy
to help all the time with anything.
Amazing. Right. Thank you very much, Lou. Thank you very much for everyone else for listening. If you are listening to this, enjoying it, if you thought it was valuable in any way, shape, or form, like I say on every single podcast, I want this to be as valuable, if not more valuable, than some of the paid mentorships that you get out there. I want this to help you grow and expand and improve your business, all for free. Please share this with another coach or someone who you think that might find it useful. So subscribe, give us 5 stars, all that sort of bollocks. And I hope you have a good day. See you in the next episode.